Nestled deep in the woods, away from prying eyes, was a place that produced some of America's greatest athletes. The Karolyi Ranch began as a modest 50-acre property and would soon grow into a powerhouse of American gymnastics, a training ground for champions, a factory for Olympic gold, and the undisputed heart of Team USA's dominance. Under the iron rule of Bela and Marta Karolyi, the ranch became more than just a gym. It was a sacred place where legends were built, teams were selected, and every move magnified. Athletes here were groomed for gold and fought for a chance to represent Team USA. But within the facade of the towering pines, fresh air, and polished legacy, whispers grew louder of horrifying secrets no one dared to believe. And as the truth began to surface, it would expose decades of corruption, silence, and the worst kind of abuse. One by one, athletes stepped forward, each revealing personal stories of horrific abuse that happened under the watch of the Karolyis, exposing the ranch as a prison. Deep in the woods, hidden in a forest of fear. Once seen as a stepping stone to Olympic glory, was, in reality, a factory of control, secrecy, and suffering. And in 2018, the once legendary training grounds closed its doors forever. But with it, the integrity and trust of an entire sport are now locked inside forever. This is the story of the Karolyi Ranch, once the crown jewel of American gymnastics, is now just a reminder of triumph turned tragedy, hidden deep in the woods. It's nearly impossible to speak about gymnastics without returning to two names, Marta and Bela Karolyi. Born in Transylvania, Bela pursued physical education in college, but failed his only gymnastics class. Still, his ambitions soared higher than his grades, and fate soon introduced him to a young gymnast who would change everything. Nadia was a prodigy. Under Bela's demanding eye, she scored the impossible, a perfect 10. At the 1976 Olympics, her precision and poise stunned the world. The Karolyis became legends overnight. But behind Nadia's flawless routines was a rigorous and punishing training style that demanded complete submission to discipline. Bela's method was militant. From the beginning, gymnasts trained in silence, pushed through pain, and were expected to obey without hesitation. It wasn't coaching, it was control. In Romania at the time, it was acceptable to train with a heavy hand. A bad routine should expect scolding and name-calling at the very least. But in worst case, mental and physical abuse were more than common. To survive, gymnasts had to surrender their voices and their bodies to the degrading system. In 1981, the Karolyis defected to the US. They were celebrated as heroes and quickly embedded themselves into American gymnastics. Bela led Mary Lou Retton to gold in 1984, and suddenly, his style was the only style to win gold. Everyone wanted the secret of his success. Suddenly, Bela was the face of gymnastics, and no one seemed to care how he got there. Little girls from all over the country wanted to become the next Mary Lou, and there was only one man who could get them there.
I did something good and I wanted to show it. And you'd look over for his approval and he'd be shaking his head like this. You know, nothing's perfect for him, which is good. That's how you make good gymnasts to be great gymnasts.
But what they didn't know was, fear was the secret ingredient and it became a training staple. Obedience was gold. From there, they built their empire. Deep in the Sam Houston National Forest, in 1999, the Karolyi Ranch became USA Gymnastics' official training center. Every month, girls were summoned to the woods. There were no distractions, no phones, no parents, and no fun. Only drills. But first you would need to survive the conditions, and it was far from glamorous.
It's different. It's definitely not mom home cooking. They serve us really well. They keep they serve us cake and ice cream at every meal. Of course, there's always salad, and so it's really good. And it's gotten a lot better over the years that I've been coming here, because I've been coming here for about 8 or 9 years. The food's good. You know, we're all used to it. It's pretty much the same thing every time, but just different orders or different times that they serve it. Yogurt all the time. I'm a big fan of yogurt. I like the food. I like everything about this place, but it just seems like such a relaxing place. Of course, besides the intense workouts. It's all healthy, and so, I mean, coming here is not much different than what I eat at home, so it's not too bad of a change.
Allie Raisman, a 2-time Olympian, called the ranch disgusting, describing showers that smelled like rotten eggs and beds that allegedly had bugs. Food was scarce, and gymnasts were publicly shamed for their weight. Some were stripped to their underwear while their bodies were criticized in front of their peers. Shawn Johnson of the 2008 Olympic team once went to extreme lengths to hide a candy wrapper, fearing punishment if it was discovered. But under the surface, something far darker was happening. Larry Nassar, the team doctor, was given complete access. He operated within the silence of the ranch, unchecked and protected. Dozens of athletes would later come forward, describing years of abuse that happened while they trained for greatness. The Karolyis claimed they didn't know, that it wasn't their responsibility. But they created the environment where silence was expected, and power was rarely questioned. Their system enabled others to act without consequence. Intentional or not, the atmosphere they fostered allowed terrible things to unfold. And while a monster was destroying lives, American gymnastics never performed better. And because Marta's team captured Olympic gold in 2012 and 2016, meant everything was just fine inside the sport. Complaints of abuse went unchecked and unreported. That is until USAG could no longer ignore the breaking stories being released to the public. Finally, Larry Nassar was convicted of the worst kind of abuse, sentenced to 40 to 175 years, after testimony from nearly 160 of his victims. And although Larry was gone, USAG, who countless times in the process showed they never put athletes first, was still the governing body in charge of the sport's elite athletes. Steve Penny, the CEO of USAG, was one of many forced into retirement from the scandal, but in our opinion should have went to jail for his role in the cover-up. Because the Karolyis were already considered retired at the time, it meant the ranch would soon see its day. But in a move by superstar Simone Biles on social media, USAG called for an immediate closure of the ranch. Here's Simone's statement. "It is impossibly difficult to relive these experiences, and it breaks my heart even more to think that as I work towards my dream of competing in Tokyo 2020, I will have to continually return to the same training facility where I was abused." Simone Biles is an icon for her gymnastics, but as the world's best gymnast, her voice is incredibly strong. Her public statement was a major reason for the closure of the ranch. There was no better gymnast to step into this situation. Today, the ranch sits abandoned. No champions walk those trails. No laughter echoes through the trees. Its legacy is tainted, not only by what happened, but by how long it was allowed. It's a symbol now, not of triumph, but of what happens when winning becomes everything. Far from the spotlight, far from anything gymnastics, the ranch now sleeps. A chapter that should never repeat or be forgotten. Hidden deep in Texas, the gates remain closed. It remains silent. The legendary ranch that once hurt so many is abandoned. A stillness that protects no one. A shell of its former glory. The medals of yesterday and pictures of past champions. Removed. Today, it's just shadows. Just trees. Just a reminder. Just memories. Hidden deep in the woods.